Hi everybody, so today what we're going to do is look at all the factorising that we've covered so far and make sure that we're okay with all of it and that we can spot which kind of factorising to use. So our starters today, we're going to first of all do some multiplying out and simplifying, and then we're going to revise a little bit of National 4 work where we're finding the circumference and area of a circle. Okay, so to start with, if you know what you're doing, just pause the video, do the questions, and then catch up to where I'm giving you the answers. If you wanted me to go through it, then stick around. Okay, so first one, multiply out and simplify. I'm going to use FOIL to do this. Okay, so that means firsts, outsides, insides, lasts. So it's going to be the firsts, so that's these two. So the first is 2x times 2x, so that's 4x squared. Then O for outsides. So the outsides are the two that are furthest away from each other. So it's those two. So we've got 2x times 1 is 2x. Then it's the insides next. So they are the two that are closest together. So that's these two. So that's negative 1 times positive 2x gives us minus 2x. And then it's the lasts, so that's the last thing in both brackets, which is negative 1 times positive 1, which is minus 1 or negative 1. Okay, so let's just simplify. We've got 4x squared, and then we've got plus 2x, take away 2x. So we've not got any x's left because they disappear, but we've still got the minus 1 on the end. Okay, and the next one, it's a simple one bracket multiply out and then collect like terms afterwards. So 3t times 5 is 15t. 3t times negative 2t is minus 6t squared. Don't forget the squared there. And you've still got this minus 3t on the end. So altogether, we've got negative 6t squared. And then we've got positive 15t, take away 3t, gives us plus 12t. Okay, so that's that one all done as well. Right, so the next question, we're looking at circumference and area of a circle. So we need to remember our formulas. So the formulas for circumference is c equals pi d. The formula for area is a equals pi r squared. And if you're able to remember those two formulas but get muddled up about which one's which, just remember area is measured in square units. So area is the one with the squared in it. Okay? Right, so let's get on with the circumference then. So remember, when you're working these out, it's best to use a calculator that's got a pi button on it because that makes it most accurate. So we leave this pi as pi because we're going to use the pi button. We don't need to replace it. If we don't have access to a scientific calculator, we would probably use 3.14, but I'm hoping that you do have access to one. So pi d means pi times the diameter. Now the radius is 4 centimetres, so the diameter is 8 centimetres. Remember, in a circle, oops, not a good circle, the diameter goes all the way across the circle, but the radius is only from the centre of the circle to the circumference. So the diameter is twice the radius. So we just work out pi times 8 on the calculator. And that gives us lots of decimal places. So we get 25.13274 and more numbers. So we're going to round that to one decimal place. So that's going to give us 25.1, and circumference is a length, so it's centimetres. Okay, over onto area then. So we've got pi times the radius squared, tells us the radius is 4, so it's pi times 4 squared. Don't forget 4 squared is not 8, it's 16, but you can just work that out straight away on the calculator. You don't need to put in the extra line of work in where you say that that's pi times 16. You just need to work out pi times 16. Okay, or pi times 4 squared. So for that, we get 50 0.26548 and lots of other numbers. So again, rounding to one decimal place, we get 50.3. And because it's an area, it's in square centimetres. Okay, so they're our two answers. So let's look at where we've been and where we're going now. So remember, just after the Easter holidays, we did all this multiplying out. We multiplied a bracket by a single term and simplified, like in the second example in the starters. We did multiplying two brackets together with two items in each bracket. We did multiplying two brackets together where one of the brackets had three terms in it. And then we looked at multiplying three brackets together. So that was the first week after the holidays. Then we switched to the other way round. We're doing the opposite of multiplying out now. We're factorising. So we've looked at factorising expressions using common factors. We've looked at factorising using a difference of two squares. And we've looked at factorising trinomials. So what we're going to do today, before we go on to factorising trickier trinomials tomorrow, is we're going to look at questions where we could be using any of these three methods. Okay. So we've got lots of examples ready here. So first of all, remember different kinds of factorising. Common factor, difference of two squares, and trinomials. Right, now, this is the order that I would like you to look at, because you will need to decide what kind of factorising to do. It won't tell you in the question. Okay, so what you need to do is first of all look and see, have you got a common factor? If you have, take the common factor out. Next, if you don't have a common factor, look and see if it's a difference of two squares, and if it is, factorise using the strategies that you got there. And if it's not either of those two, then look to see if it's a trinomial and if you can put it into two brackets. Okay, so we're just going to work our way through all of these examples, but remembering common factor, difference of two squares, trinomial. Try it in that order. So first one, 5m squared, take away 20m. So our strategy is to look and see if we've got a common factor first of all. And we can see here we do have a common factor. We've got a common factor of 5 in the numbers, and we've got a common factor of m in the letters. So our common factor is 5m, and then we make our bracket. And remember that this times this has to give you that. So 5m times what gives you 5m squared? Well, we've already got the 5, so it's just what do we multiply m by to get m squared, and it's m. Okay, and then to get the second term in the bracket, 5m times this has to give us negative 20m. Okay, so that's a positive 5. So to multiply to get a negative, we know that it's going to be a minus to start with. And then 5 times this number will give us 20. So that needs to be a 4. And then m times what's there has to just give us m. So we don't need to put a letter there, do we? Because we've already got the m. 5m times negative 4 is negative 20m. So that's that one done. Okay, moving on. Next one. Have a look here. Have we got a common factor? We're going to use the same strategy each time. We're going to try common factor, difference of two squares, trinomial. So looking at this term here, this expression. See if we've got a common factor. Look at the numbers first. 16 and 25. If you think about it for a minute, there aren't any common factors of 16 and 25. And in this term, we've got a u squared. In this term, we don't have any u's. So there aren't any common factors in this. Okay, so the next thing to think about is it a difference of two squares? So this number is a squared number, and this number is a squared number, and this is a squared term. So yes, it is a difference of two squares. Don't forget that this term is 4u squared, and that one is 5 squared. I do think it helps to write down what is squared for making our brackets. Okay, so remember, difference of two squares requires two brackets. The thing that's squared, to give you the first term, goes in the front of both brackets. So that's 4u and 4u. The thing that's squared to give you the last term goes in the back of the brackets. So that's going to be 5 and 5. And then you need 1 plus and 1 minus. Okay, that's that one done. Next, c squared plus 5c plus 6. So following the same strategy as before. Have we got a common factor? Well, in the numbers, we don't. In the letters, well, there's a c in here, there's a c in here, but there's no c in here. So we don't have a common factor there. Okay, so next we look to see if it's a difference of 2 squares. We can see straight away that it isn't, because difference of 2 squares means we only need 2 terms, and we've got 3. So it's definitely not a difference of 2 squares. So let's try and factorise it as a trinomial. So that means we would need to have 2 brackets and follow our trinomial factorising steps. So they would be, first of all, the first terms in the brackets have to make the first term in your expression, so we can fill them in to start with. We've done lots of practice at this recently. That needs to be a c and a c. Then we write down the factors of the third term. So our third term is 6. So we write down the factors of 6, and we must write them down in pairs. Okay. Then we think about the signs in the brackets. And remember, it's the sign of the last term that you look at first. So if that's plus, it means the signs in the brackets are going to be the same as each other. And they're both going to be the same as this. So that means that we need a plus and a plus. And now we work out which of these pairs is going to give us, when we look at this combination, where I've just marked in green, that combination needs to add up to 5c. Okay, we know that it's going to multiply to give us 6, because that's what we wrote down. They were pairs of factors of 6, but we need a plus 5c when we work out what's on these green lines here. Okay, so let's try 1 and 6 to start with. So that would give us c for this one, 1 times c, and then c times 6 is 6c. So altogether there, they're both positive, remember, that would give us 7c. So that doesn't work. We want 5c. Okay, so we need to lose the 6 and the 1 because they're not right. Okay, and we'll also lose these green lines carefully. There we go. So next we're going to try 2 and 3 because we found that 1 and 6 doesn't work. So 2 and 3, again, look at these lines. So we've got 2c there, and we've got 3c there, and they're both positive. 2c add 3c does make 5c, so that's the right factorising, c plus 2 times c plus 3. So just lose these green lines again. Okay, right, so on with the next one. All right, so again, try common factor first. So looking at the numbers, we can see 20, 5 and 15. We do have a common factor there, and the common factor is 5. Looking at the letters, we've got u cubed, u squared and u. So we've got a common factor of u in all of those, so we can put 5u outside the bracket. And our terms inside the bracket, remember, that times that has to give us 20u cubed, that times that has to give us 5u squared, and that times that has to give us negative 15u. Okay, so that's where we're heading with that. Let's just lose all those lines. All right, so first of all then, 5u times this gives us 20u cubed. So we'll deal with the numbers first. 5 times, that must be 4, is 20. Okay, and then u times whatever goes here has to give us u cubed. So that must be u squared. Then the next term, 5u times this has to give us 5u squared. So 5 times 1 is going to give us 5. So remember, when it's a 1, we don't need to write the 1. And then u times u is going to give us 5u squared. So all we've got there is plus u. And remember, you can just multiply out to check. So 5u times u is 5u squared. Okay, and then the next one we need to get 15u, we need to do 5u times something, is negative 15u. So the 5u is positive, so to get a negative, we're going to need a minus here. 5 times 3 is 15, and we don't need to put any u's there because we've already got the u here, and 5u times negative 3 is negative 15u. Okay, so that's that one done. Next one, again, follow the same process. Look to see if we've got any common factors. So in the numbers, 9 and 100, I can save you a job by telling you we don't have common factors there in the numbers. And then we've got t squared and a squared, so also no common factors. So we'll look to see, is this a difference of 2 squares? Well, first of all, it is a difference because we've got a minus. We've got 2 terms and they are both squared terms. So remember, I think it's helpful to write underneath what it is that's squared to give you each term. So to get 9, we need to square 3. And to get t squared, we need to square t. So that's 3t squared. And in the same way, it's 10 squared that gives us 100 and a squared that gives us a squared. So remember, difference of 2 squares, 2 brackets. Then at the beginning of each bracket is the first thing that's squared. In the back of the brackets is the second thing that's squared. And then you need 1 plus and 1 minus. Okay, moving on again. This time, check for a common factor. So looking for a common factor, in the numbers, we've got 81 and 18. They're both in the 9 times table, so we do have a common factor there. Then looking at the letters, we've got f squared and f, so we also have a common factor of f. So then, remember, 9f times this gives you 81f squared. So 9 times 9 is 81, f times f is f squared. So 9f times 9f will give us our 81f squared. And then 9f times this has to give us negative 18f. So it's got to be a minus. 9 times 2 is 18. And in fact, 9f times negative 2 is negative 18f. So that's that one done. Okay. Next question. So we're looking here. Have we got a common factor? There's a squared, negative 4a, negative 12. We don't have a common factor in the numbers. We do with these two, but it has to be across all 3. So we don't have a common factor because this is only 1. Okay, and we've got a in here, but no a there, so we've no common factor. It's not a difference of 2 squares because we've got 3 terms, so we need to factorise as a trinomial then. So 2 brackets, and remember what we do first of all is the first term has to come from these 2 multiplied together, so they both need to be a's. We write down the pairs of factors of the third term, so that's 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Remember, they've got to go in pairs. And then what we're looking at is the signs. Okay, so we look at the sign of the third term. Remember, when that's negative, it means the signs in the brackets are different. So we need a plus and a minus. And then we just have to work out which pair it is that when we do this and add them together, we get negative 4a. Okay, so let's see if it would work with 1 and 12. Well, from 1 and 12, we would get a positive a there and a negative 12a there. That would give us negative 11a, which is not what we need. So that's not right. It's not 1 and 12. Okay. let's have a look. Just a second now. Just remove those. Let's try 2 and 6. Okay, so from this we get positive 2a, and from the other one we get negative 6a, and 2a take away 6a is negative 4a, so we've hit on the right answer there. So that is correct, 2 and 6 plus 2 minus 6, so we can lose that, and that's our answer. Okay, next one. Let's look for a common factor. Well, in the numbers, we don't have a common factor, but in the letters, we do. So v is the common factor. So multiplying out has to give us v squared minus 16v. So v times v is v squared, and then minus 16. Okay. Then the last one for today. So common factor, let's have a look. We've got 149. There aren't any common factors for 149. And then we've got a k squared and a j squared, so we don't have common factors in the letters either. So there's no common factors here. So we need to see if it's a difference of 2 squares. That's the next thing on our list. So is this, well, look at the numbers. That's 10 squared and that's 7 squared. And this is k squared and this is j squared. So happy days, we've got a difference of 2 squares because we've got 2 terms. We've got a difference because it's a minus and they're both squares. So remember, this is 10k squared and this is 7j squared. So into 2 brackets then. So the 10k goes at the beginning of both brackets. The 7j goes at the end of both brackets, and we need 1 plus and 1 minus. Okay, so that's been a run through of everything that we've done so far in factorising and how we can do this systematically. So remember, check for a common factor. If it's not a common factor, check to see if it's a difference of 2 squares. If it's not a difference of 2 squares, check to see if it's a trinomial. Okay, so tomorrow what we're going to do is go on to factorising trickier trinomials, and that is level AB work. What I mean by that is you can pass National 5 without being able to do tomorrow's work, but I'll explain that a little bit more tomorrow. Okay, see you then.